For the past decade, if you wanted to test your skill at Pokemon battling without the hassle of completing the main series games, Pokemon Showdown has been without question the best place to start. Showdown has proven itself as the rightful successor to Shoddy Battle and Pokemon Online, improving on the concept of pure Pokemon battling with a little bit of trash talk to the point where it's now the best, most efficient place to build teams, practice against real opponents, and even review your matches. And speaking from a lot of experience, it doesn't just stand out, it sets the standard. Showdown is more than just a fan-made simulator. It's arguably one of the most important pillars of the competitive community, a place where you can jump into a battle with any Pokemon, any item, any move, anytime. What it has in accessibility, flexibility, and a selfless development team make it almost irreplaceable, and it's honestly a miracle it's survived for as long as it has. But this week, things shifted dramatically, in a way that permanently alters the meaning of that almost, with the unveiling of a new trailer for Pokemon Champions, Pokemon's shiny new official battle simulator. For the first time ever, the Pokemon Company is offering a product that may rival, or even be a better alternative, to Showdown. Before the latest Pokemon Presents, we really didn't know too much about what this game would be. Rumors swirled before the first trailer ever aired, and while the hype from the reveal got the hypothetical gears turning, the majority of claims made about Champions would prove speculative without evidence. More questions were asked than answered. Could an official Pokemon product truly replicate the experience offered by Showdown? Could it measure up to a platform refined by years of community-driven feedback? The new trailer was a fast-paced highlight reel that thankfully covered quite a bit of information. It was structured neatly into three key sections: the recruitment, battling, and training. The first section of the trailer detailed how to obtain Pokemon. Building your teams and champions will revolve around a new system of recruitment, which may sound familiar to anyone who's played Peak, but it appears to function more like the Pokemon purchases in Unite. Rather than catching, breeding, or shiny hunting, here trainers just recruit Pokemon using an in-game currency called VP, which I didn't hear them explicitly say, but I assume stands for Victini points. This is likely to be a speedier method than the mainline series, but doesn't bear much resemblance to Showdown's plug-and-play style, at least not yet, because there wasn't much detail on how players will be getting these points, and there are a multitude of systems that could be good, like achievements, bounties, AI battle modes, limited time challenges like Hearthstone's Tavern Brawl, or bad, like dailies, aka chores, please don't force us to do dailies, battle passes, time-gated VP, and potentially gacha or loot box systems. Until more is revealed, we'll have to stick to what we know. A good design choice was revealed early: the ability to trial recruit Pokemon for 7 days at a 0 VP cost. This is a great addition, especially for newer players. Before committing any serious VP into a team, you get to take a strategy for a test drive and find what works for you to win battles and earn VP early in the meta. In my opinion, this is a good accessibility feature and could lead to some really funny market-based meta developments. The trailer also explicitly stated that players will be able to invite Pokemon from their other games through Home, which could potentially discount or even avoid VP costs entirely. If that ends up being true, I like it. It rewards players who've invested time in building their collections, and it also alleviates some of the initial grind for competitive players if this becomes the host of future VGC tournaments, which, optimistically, I believe will be the case. Once recruited, new Pokemon enter a close replica of Paldea's box system. Many of the normal features we expect to see made an appearance, but the differences made it clear that Champions is taking risks with their optimizations. The first thing that stands out in the UI was the absence of a level display. While the Pokemon were clearly operating at level 50, which we could tell based on the stats shown later, the lack of a visible level bar suggests it's completely removed from this game. Now, this may seem like a great idea at first. Removing the leveling system results in a more immediate entry into competitive battling, but it begs the question: what happens with pre-evolutions? Are they auto-unlocked when you purchase the final evolution? Are they set to level 50? Can they accidentally evolve if we don't hold down the B button? The trailer didn't reveal any unevolved Pokemon, which could imply a lack of support for things like Eviolite and the Pokemon that use it, like Clefairy or Dusclops. I mean, this year, a Scraggy won a huge tournament that led to a Worlds qualification. It would be a huge disappointment if these Pokemon were done away with. It also raises questions about the potential to build custom formats, like, for example, Little Cup, which exclusively features unevolved Pokemon. Without custom formats, I think Champions completely turns away a huge chunk of its potential audience. The functionality for that already basically exists in Scarlet and Violet, so I'm more than a little bit optimistic, but without a leveling system, we will almost surely lose access to level 5 Little Cup and other similar modes of play. But that wasn't the end of this. There were some other odd things missing. Crucially, there was no clear indication of nicknaming your Pokemon. Instead, there was an input for favoriting or labeling, which may very well be where the nicknaming feature will reside, but it's odd that we couldn't see a direct way to just nickname your Pokemon. And finally, something pretty obvious, but pretty important in the UI that's missing is the Dynamax level or terrestrialization. This may seem pretty unimportant, but pop on a tinfoil hat for a second and stay with me. We've already seen these battle mechanics in previous trailers for champions, and in the generations those gimmicks are native to, we at least see those features in the UI. Terra is always present in Gen 9, even if it's defaulted to one of the Pokemon's natural types. And in Gen 8, Dynamax level is always shown, whether it's maxed out or it's 0. In this UI, they weren't even visible as typical low opacity shadows. So my theory is that those features can be toggled on and off, and I am going to be insufferable about this if I'm correct. As for what we know for sure, we clearly see that Pokemon still retain their genders, which obviously is necessary. How would I ever tell apart Indeedee? Held items are also present. The trailer didn't reveal much about how they work or how to acquire them. And at the shallower end of the pool, there's this green infinity symbol in the UI that caught my eye. It kind of indicates what I think is a permanent recruit label, which suggests that once you spend the VP to recruit a Pokemon, it should be yours forever, which is to be expected. The second section of the trailer focused on the battling. Not that it wasn't expected, but we finally have confirmation that this game will have single battles. The first trailer didn't exactly clarify if that would be the case, and maybe it was just me, but I was worried there was a small chance they would cut them. They also confirmed both ranked and private battle systems would be available, which I would say is essential for any competitive game. You don't want to force people to always be playing on ranked mode. However, I have a few questions for the ranked system. Will it feature one format or multiple at a time? Crucially for the legitimacy of practice, will it offer best of 3 options or open team sheets? See, for a long time, Showdown didn't have either of those features, but changes to the official circuit and continuous community feedback eventually led to the launch of both. And in my opinion, it isn't a stretch to say that those additions in Showdown had a huge impact on raising the overall skill level of the entire VGC community. If Champions doesn't natively support best of 3, serious players will likely flock back to Old Reliable before a third-party matchmaking option looks like a viable substitute. Smash Bros community has something called Anthers Ladder, and I've dabbled in Anthers, and while it's functional, it's just objectively better to have these features built directly into the game. Another returning feature that I personally don't love is the Your Time clock, because it definitely adds another layer of depth to battles that run longer, but it often feels more like a punishment for trying to think things through in high-stakes scenarios rather than serving its actual function, which, if I'm correct, is to speed up matches and discourage timer stalling. Timer stall still comes up, it's just done differently now, and people have actually lost because they ran out of your time in a match. It's bumped back up to 10 minutes. I won't mind it as much returning, but I'm still hoping there's a way to toggle it on and off, especially for custom formats, because that really impacts the singles community. A more exciting reveal in this section though were the aesthetic changes to the UI. First off, the forfeit button is now completely removed from its historically horrible locations near all of the action buttons. Never accidentally forfeited because of this, but it has absolutely happened to people, and it's nice to see it change its residence. And there's finally, after 2 decades, a new type effectiveness text, which is extremely effective. But above all, the coolest change is the addition of percentage markers to opponents' HP bars, which, yeah, Pokemon directly ripped that from Showdown, but Showdown can't really make a case against anything considering its entire existence is directly ripped from Pokemon. The final section of the trailer focused on training, and this is where things got pretty interesting. The most surprising reveal was that maybe in an attempt to simplify these systems for newer players, IVs and EVs are potentially being replaced. For the entirety of VGC's existence, IVs and EVs have been sort of their own sub-discipline of competitive Pokemon. Not only is there an art to designing the best EV combinations before competing, there was both a time-wasting drawback and difficulty in physically applying those spreads on a game cartridge before a tournament. EVs were difficult to change without in-game resources, and while it's gotten easier over the years for sure with items like bottle caps, trainers could never subtract IVs, making some one-time captures really difficult, if not impossible, to obtain. Now, in Champions, instead of IVs and EVs, you'll pay VP to add stats at a cost of 2 VP per invested point. The maximum points per stat is 66, which aligns with the old maximum of 252 EVs in any one stat. But surprisingly, the total number of points you're allowed to invest makes it so that there are now 1 full extra investable stat points, and in some cases 2. I doubt that has too much of an impact on many Pokemon, but I'd be happy to see it make a difference for the strategies that I like using. This is a big simplification of the process and would make competitive Pokemon much more accessible to people just starting. But the complete removal of IVs is particularly impactful alone. Strategies around using IVs to hit certain speed tiers for Trick Room teams or reducing the attack stat IV to minimize foul play damage will no longer exist. I doubt this removes all opportunities to get clever in the builder, and it shouldn't just shift the focus entirely to nature natures and movesets, but speaking of natures, those are still around. In Champions, they've been renamed stat alignments and look to cost around 200 VP to change. The ability to change them for a VP cost means you won't be stuck with a bad nature if you have no money for mints. But another missing bit of information appeared to revolve around PP ups or PP maxing. Some people are theorizing that PP ups may be getting removed just like IVs, but I'm hesitant to believe that. A quick flash in this frame in the trailer showed a 100 VP cost that could either be for just swapping a move out or potentially maxing its PP. We did alternatively see the option to purchase moves for much less VP, but it really isn't clear how that all plays out. If enhancing your moves PP does get removed, I'd suggest investing in pressure and spite stocks as early as you can. Based on the VP costs we've seen, we can start to estimate the total VP required to fully optimize a single Pokemon. Recruiting a Pokemon seems to be around 1000 VP, changing its nature is 200, each stat point is 2, and with roughly 132 points to distribute, that's likely around 264. Each of the 4 moves costs 10 or 15, and ability seems to cost about 400. And then item costs and potentially Terra types haven't been revealed yet, or how we'll get them and how much they cost. But factoring these in, it's estimated that a fully optimized Pokemon could cost upwards of 2,000 to 3,000 VP. This is a significant investment for each Pokemon, and I'm really hoping that it ends up being a breeze to accrue several 100,000 of these in no time. The focus of this game looks to be placed on battling, so here's to hoping that we don't lose the plot in the one or several virtual currencies this game has. After revealing the functional details for Champions, there was some other information not directly provided in the trailer. On the official website, a crucial notice was provided. VP will not be purchasable, which is massive. It almost fully removes the fear of pay-to-win strategies, which should be great, but the wording did give me pause. It simply says not directly purchasable, which for reasons I outlined earlier, could mean we get ways to buy it that aren't approved of by the majority. With that aside, however, we all know that there will be some type of microtransactions in this game, and hopefully they're treated with care. It would be awesome if all the purchases in Champions are purely cosmetic. Looking great rivals many strong competitors' desires to battle great, and Pokemon in general has experimented with tons of customization options, but never hosted them in one place. We've had Pokeball skins, shinies, Pokemon outfits, trainer outfits, custom emotes. All of these have been in a Pokemon game at some point. One thing we haven't seen yet is something like a custom Pokemon stage, which is something I think tons of fans would love. And we haven't had historical or custom Pokemon cries, which may sound silly, but I think it's something that could be done really well. I mean, think about it. When was the last time in a Pokemon game you got to hear a Gen 4 Kricketune? I also have high hopes for the way this game could hold the hands of newer players while also having challenging and fun solo content. I feel like players need a way to earn VP from in-game missions against some type of computer opponent. I see this world where people get stuck on low ladder and struggle earning points before they ever get to experience the better parts of Pokemon battling. So an easily beatable AI opponent could alleviate the potential for that issue to pop up. And if I'm being super optimistic, it would really be cool if this game included some type of story mode. Champions is an official release, so there isn't any limitation in what it can do with any type of Pokemon IP. Campaign challenges against Kanto gym leaders, Hoenn villain team members, all of these could be fun ways to incorporate different battle modes or even teach official rule sets. And if the game is live service, this could be done in the same way that a new raids release in Gen 9, or as generally scheduled content updates. But to close things out, I'm aware I could really dig into the potential of a game like this. Faster balance patches, spectator modes, replay saving, there's a dozen great ideas that Champions could implement, but I don't have expectations for any of that, especially not on release. The beauty of a game like this is the symbolic nature it represents for the direction that Pokemon is taking. Removing the time investment necessary for making teams to use in official tournaments is fantastic. The battle-centric nature of the game is great. All things considered, this is a bold step for the Pokemon Company, and whether we get a spectator mode or not, I'm excited for the potential impact Champions could have on the game that I love. And even though Champions, in theory, has the potential to replace a website like Showdown, I strongly doubt it will. Showdown has too much of a head start in community building, communication with its developers, building features that are integral to player improvement, lightning fast building, tweaking, and matchmaking, and endless other variables. I'd be happy. I think anyone who uses Showdown would be happy to see Champions improve on everything that Showdown does. But I'm not sure if that's feasible, not now or even in the future. So maybe I need to correct myself. Battle Simulation may be getting an upgrade, but Showdown may never get replaced.